So there's really three areas of subject matter in this resolution. One would allow the delegates to consider a constitutional amendment for term limits for members of Congress, which this body has already passed a couple of weeks ago. The second would call for fiscal restraints. And this could be something like a balanced budget amendment, enacting restraints on how much debt the federal government could take on. And I'll expand on that in just a moment. And the other would limit the power and jurisdiction of federal government. And I want to say something about that. I think that if you look at this room is really, I think, Exhibit A on why it kind of makes sense for more power to be at the local level in the states. Because how often do you see your U.S. Senator? Or how often do you talk to the President of the United States? I've never even met a president. I'm in my 5th term in the General Assembly here. I've never met a U.S. president. Most people don't. But you can reasonably get in contact with the governor's office if you have to, but the real power should be the state legislators, because we're the ones you're going to see in the supermarket, walking down the street, that kind of thing. And I think that's important. And I think that's how the framers envision our country. You know, that's the idea, that's the concept of federalism. But now I want to tell you something really scary. And if this doesn't scare you, then I would ask you just to take a little bit of time after I'm done with these remarks and just think about it. You don't have to watch a horror movie to get scared, because if you want to get scared, look at the national debt, look at the deficit, and all you have to do, there's a website if you want to go look at it. I'm looking at it right now on my phone. I'm gonna give you the web address. The web address is usdebtclock.org. And folks, this is real. This is not made up. All right, here's some numbers. So our national debt currently, it's over $28 trillion and counting. National deficit is over $3.2 trillion and counting. Now, this one really stood out to me. This one really shocked me. The national debt ratio to the GDP, check this out. 1960, it was 53%. 1980, I was born in 1982, if anyone's keeping count. That was 35%. That's old, isn't it? I was 38 years old. It's kind of be 39 soon. I'm getting up there. I can't believe my hair's not gray yet, though. I've been in here for 5 terms. Yeah. All right, I'll get back on track. In the year 2000, the debt to GDP ratio was 59%. Today, it's 130%. 130%. That's not sustainable. All right, now if you look at your clock, look at your watch. Every minute that goes by, we've spent $2.5 million. That's how much our country's spending every minute. There's a clock back here on the wall. Every minute that goes by, $2.5 million. Debt per citizen is over $85,000. Debt per taxpayer is over $224,000. Now, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, that's just not sustainable. Yeah, I know Democrats and Republicans have disagreements on tax issues and on how much the government should be involved in things. But folks, if we don't get this issue under control, the dollar could collapse. What's going to happen when investors retract? With foreign investors, do you want to be in that kind of situation? The dollar is a global currency, but that's precarious. And not only that, think about the inflation that could occur. If we want to have a functioning government, and even things like a safety net. I know Democrats, Republicans disagree sometimes on how much the government should be involved, but I think most of us agree we need to have a basic safety net and function the core services of government. But you can't do that if the dollar were to collapse, if inflation's out of control. It can happen. It absolutely can happen, and it will happen if we don't change course. Now, here's the problem. The federal government has demonstrated they're not going to address this issue. It's both parties to blame. Yeah, I'm a Republican. Well, we've had Republican presidents, Republican majorities. They haven't got it under control. And the Democrat side hasn't got it under control. It's a bipartisan problem. The solution is Article 5. The solution is right there. The framers put it in there. There's 2 ways to amend the Constitution. One, Congress can vote for amendments to send to the states for ratification. 38 states have to ratify. It's been done 27 times. The other way is for the states to do it. Now, this is not a constitutional convention. It says it very clearly that on application of 3/5 of the states, is that right? 2/3 for 2/3. Thank you. I get my ratios mixed up. Appreciate that. So if the states call for an Article 5 convention, then what happens is, I think it's 34 states, right? Would have to call, that's right. So think of this, 34 states, I think we're up to 15 now, it'd be 16 if we take action. The states could convene and we'd send delegates in, and our delegates in North Carolina would have to focus specifically on what's in this resolution. Now, ultimately, what would happen is they would propose amendments, and I think the balanced budget amendment controlling our national debt, that is critical. That's the reason why I'm on this bill. I care also about term limits. I care also about controlling the size and scope of the federal government. But our national debt deficit, having a balanced budget amendment like we have in North Carolina, this functioned very well for us here. But also controlling the national deficit, we have to have a mechanism in place. That is something our delegates would consider. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that would have to be ratified by 38 states. Now think of that. Now, if they wanted to come up with something like maybe we're going to change the name of the country to the United States of Hugh Blackwell, that might be kind of cool, but all it takes is 13 states to stop that. You know, so I think the time has come, and this is a bipartisan issue. I would really hope that we have both Republican and Democrats to support this. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time.
I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks are willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.